another guy here.
What did you make of Van Dijk's comments, John? Speaking of Van Dijk and transfers and tying together.
Needed that this is a guy who just knows the reality of it all, because as good and memorable what the last season was for us, at the end of the day we didn't get over the line. And for these players who play at the top level, it's all about winning. It's all about the trophies. We didn't win, right? So coming in with the same group and thinking that any outcome is going to be different regardless of a systemic change is insanity. So he's just using common sense, in my opinion. Like, hey, we need.
But do you take it as him saying, like, his resigning? I mean, people took that as his resigning hinges on like what we do in the off season. Is that how you read what he said?
I feel like he's just taking it day by day in terms of his contract. I feel like his emphasis was primarily what's going to be going on the pitch. I don't know, because I'm personally not the best reader of between the lines kind of stuff and what he's trying to say. I looked at it from a very straightforward point of view. This is a guy who's saying that what we had last year wasn't enough, and it wasn't, so we need to add to that. That's how I saw it. Like, whether he meant something else, I don't know. But all things considered, he's right. And how many days is it left until the start of the season? Just 3 more days.
3 freaking days, people.
Let's go.
I guess in some ways, in some ways, like, yeah, once the games start, maybe we can actually start talking about soccer and stuff again. I don't disagree with him. I don't like that message from the club captain. Doesn't help the coach, in my opinion, says Gally. It doesn't. But then this is where I always go back to, like, damned if you do, damned if you don't with players. You know, if they just told the company line, we're like, he's just giving us vanilla stuff. If he's honest, then, you know.
Yeah, with Henderson, they were saying, like, of course Henderson won't speak up because they're going to get someone who's going to replace him right away. Right, with a midfielder. So
the guy that's coming in is to replace Hendo. Yeah, I mean,
but I feel like this is the problem too with this Verge comment is this is not the first like unrest that he's made. Right after Klopp left, he's like, "Well, we'll see. I don't really know if I want to be," like that kind of thing. That was in March or April, and then. Right after the Euros when they crashed out. Now, granted, I think we all give him a pass because they kind of shoved the mic in his face right after he ends up getting knocked out. So you can kind of argue that. And then this is now the third thing that he said that's kind of like, I'm not really happy with where the club's at or where the club's going. And it's like 3 in a row, like the big comments. And that doesn't sit well with me either. Especially because he's captain.
I think that's why it was an odd choice, because he's all but has been that kind of guy. He's never like a put the company line guy. He's never been really, even in the past. He's never been. So that's why it was like an odd choice to make him captain. It's like have him listen to that, because you know what's coming. He's going to say basically, like, he's going to be honest and give you what he thinks. And in this case, I mean, here's the thing. Maybe, it kind of like shows that not everybody is on the same page, or maybe John, like, Verge is not being on the same page, because Verge is like, I mean, he says he knows, because he almost said like, there are things in the works kind of a thing is the way he put it. So, the club is working on it kind of a thing. So he knows there's going to be some stuff happening, or some stuff is going to eventually happen. I think he was more like, let's get this done. The season is starting.
I think it's also kind of leadership styles. And whether you like it or not, it's kind of a take it or leave it kind of deal. Because we could be a Stevie where he's just, whatever happens, I'm just going to trooper over it. Like, I'm just going to keep going regardless of whether I have a weak squad or a decent squad or something. And this is his way of kind of, this is his leadership style. Of course, there are flaws. There's no perfect leader, but at the end of the day, I feel like it's just a matter of preference. Like Gally's saying here that he wasn't his first choice to be named captain. That's fair, right? I think that he's just saying it as it is, and I respect it, right? So at the end of the day, I feel like it's whoever what leadership style you prefer as a fan. Whether it could be disruptive, yes, but as with anything, there's always a flip side. Like, maybe it can get the club, could give them the good kick in the ass to try and get some players. Whereas on the flip side, if he doesn't say anything, maybe the club will just fall into this well of contentment, right? It's like two different avenues with two different outcomes, or it could be good, it could be bad. So let's see what happens. I mean,
he could be just echoing what people are saying in the locker room.
Yeah,
he's speaking for the people, like,
exactly.
for the other players. So.
I mean, Tim, if you were and this goes for you too, Gordon, if you were a player in that locker room and we fell flat as we did last year, we kind of ran out of gas. I mean, there's no way in hell you would think that the club is enough, that what we have is enough, right?
Okay, let me counter that with Sparky's comments. If we had won 2 or 3 trophies last season instead of just a single one, and we could have, would you be happy with the existing squad, because we were only a few games away from winning everything last season? And I'm assuming this is because, especially if you're a player, like going back to your question, if you're a player, I am maybe thinking in the locker room, well, this system will kind of like help us. I mean, if it is, like, I mean, it could be a thought I'm saying, that's not necessarily what they're thinking, but hey, the system kind of will enable us to kind of sustain this and not wear down as we go.
That's the only thing that I'm kind of banking on, because I did mention it a few podcasts ago. This system seems more sustainable in terms of keeping our guys healthy, in terms of recycling the ball and keeping players not overexerting themselves. That's what I'm kind of hoping for. But the 2-3 trophies last season, you could clearly see that we were sort of riding our luck sometimes. Like, even though that we won against Chelsea, there were like 1 or 2 chances where we were like, any other day that hits the back of the net and everything. It's kind of swings and roundabouts kind of deal. Like, if you could argue with Sparky's point, like 2 or 3 moments, we wouldn't even be in that position. The glass half empty perspective.
Yes.
So it depends on perspective. I'm looking at it from a positive standpoint. I think we're still going to finish in top 4 and all that, but I don't think we're going to be even close to 2 to 3 trophies last season, simply because of a shift in regime and because of an integration in a new style, and the fact that our closest rivals are way deeper into their development cycles, that we stand no chance against them, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much everybody has improved, and but our improvement will have to be organic or by the system and stuff like that. And with the new manager / coach, and with the Euros and stuff, I don't know. Gal says if Club's voice didn't let him get them to sign players, I can't see Van Dijk swaying this management team. I think at the same time, though, here's my thing as a captain. Sometimes, and I know, like, this is like, I guess this is like, are you the captain of the players? And that's more like the senior, like the senior captains kind of a thing, where they echo the voice of the locker room. But those guys just do it in some ways, behind the scenes. They don't, do it to a microphone. But Gordo, like, as a captain, there are times where you say something that maybe is not great to hear by others, the powers that be, but you're kind of echoing what all the other players are thinking, saying. And as a captain, if you do not do that, I mean, I have been in that situation where if you do not do that, then the guys are like, well, then what kind of a captain are you? You're not my captain, kind of a thing, because you're not really passing out, our concerns. I want my captain to kind of voice that, maybe not to a microphone, more behind the scenes.
100%.
You know what I mean?
That is, a true leader does the dirty work in private. True leader never puts the team's dirty laundry out for everyone to see. A true leader does work, and he doesn't make those, he doesn't whitewash everything when he's talking to his managers on behalf of the players. He doesn't, whitewash things when he's talking to ownership. He should be making those comments in an office behind closed doors, just one-on-one, saying, this is what everyone's saying. We better get our shit together, or we're going to, the thought process is going downhill in the locker room. You don't come out and say it to the fans. Now, the fans, he has to know too, that the fans aren't dumb, right? We're a pretty intelligent fan base. I mean, the amount of clubs and players and teams that come out, no, like, they'll say it too. They'll say, like, they playing at Anfield is special because the fans like reward the small things always, because it's
the game.
It's a super intelligent fan base. And so, he has to understand that the fans see through it. but he has to stand behind the club because he is the face of the club. And you don't say things like, I fully trust. There's ways that you can kind of bounce around. You can be political about it. You have a team designed for those public media relations, and they will tell you the right things to say to bounce questions around. He doesn't have to do that himself. He can have somebody write that. He should be doing the dirty work. He should be saying those things. He should be saying maybe vile things to the transfer market at this point. But he has to be honest. But he does that in private. That's a true captain, a true manager does that.
Yeah, and that's why I don't.